So shalom lekulam. I'm very happy to be with you all again. Starting first time I'm here for Tafshin Pei Bet, Bezrat Hashem. We'll enjoy learning together. So we're in Chodesh Kislev. Just change my position. Maybe I'll see better this way. See, it's not very substantial, so we'll go back. Okay. So yes. Yeah, maybe that's better. Okay, good. So it's Chodesh Kislev today, and we're in Chodesh Kislev and approaching Hanukkah, and I thought teaching about a topic that has to do with the upcoming Hanukkah. So here I'll share with you the screen and we'll go there. All right, so the topic of the class today is or ur. Yeah, I was debating with myself whether to spell it with a U or double O, but I thought it would be more clear with a double O. With ur, it could be So or ur, that's in Hebrew. Or means light, O, and ur means fire. Ur kasdim. Yeah, ur means fire. So it's to play with a game. It's actually a title that was given by the late Rabbi Zevin, Zecher Tzaddik Livracha, that will, Bezrat Hashem, see his words at the end of the class. And right, that's the title he gave to this topic, or ur. Yeah, fire, or light or fire. Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel, two educational approaches. Okay. We'll explain the title as we proceed. So let's start with the famous, there is a Breita, Tannaic source in the tractate in Masechet Shabbat in Daf Kafalef 21b. And let's see the famous machloket. Yeah. Tanu Rabbanan, mitzvat ner Chanukah, ner ish uveito. Okay. So the Baraita says that the basic chiyuv, the basic obligation regarding the rabbinic mitzvah of lighting Hanukkah candles is that each day we need to light only one candle. Okay, one candle, meaning in each home, ner ish uveito, as my Rabbi Rav Lichtenstein, Zecher Tzaddik Livracha, explained in an article. What is ish uveito? You see, I marked the man in his house. Now, it doesn't mean here necessarily physical house. It means like we'll read in a few weeks in Parshat in Sefer Bereshit, Et Yaakov ish uveito ba'u. Beito means his family. So it's a chiyuv on a family, meaning the basic commandment, rabbinic commandment of lighting Hanukkah candles is not a personal chiyuv. It's each family has to light one candle. Now that applies to all days. The seventh day, Me'ikar Adin, the basic chiyuv is that there'll be one candle, one Hanukkah candle at the home. Even if we have 6 people and it's the 7th day, but the basic chiyuv is to light only one candle. So that's the basic chiyuv. Mitzvat Chanukah ner ish uveito. Yeah, beito in the meaning of family. And then the next step, the Mahadrin, a hidur mitzvah, ner lekol echad ve'echad. That each individual in the house will light one candle. So for 7 people at the 6th day, we will light 7 candles. That's the basic chiyuv. And the mehadrin mina mehadrin, the hidur that is even greater than the first hidur. Beit Shammai, here we have the famous machloket of Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel. Beit Shammai hold that in the first day you light 8, and then at the second day you light 7, till the last day when you light only 1 candle. Yeah, it's 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And Beit Hillel are holding Yom Rishon Madlik Achat. The first day you actually light 1 candle. From then on, you add a candle. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The thing that is not clear, so that is the greatest Hidur. So we have 3 layers of the mitzvah. The first one is just 1 candle per home each day, regardless of how many people, regardless of what day are we on. That's the basic obligation. Then we have a Hidur, 1 candle per person, per capita. The third layer is we're adding each day, or we're removing each day a candle. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's Beit Shammai, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's Beit Hillel. What is still ambiguous here, the only source of ambiguity is whether the third layer includes the second layer, goes on top of it or not. Meaning, if I am in the third day, we have 4 people in our home, will each person light 3 candles, or only one person, let's say the Baal Beit, will light 3 candles? Meaning, do we in the third layer return to the basic chiyuv and it's only 1 person? And or we say no, this level includes the previous level, that not only that we add candles or delete candles, depending whether we're Beit Shammai or Beit Hillel, not only that, but also each person does it. There's room to say this way and there's room to say this way. If we want that it will be clear what number of candles are we lighting because it resembles what day are we on, maybe if each person will light his own Chanukiah, menorah, it will be confusing. On the other hand, why not leave the second layer of Hidur, which made it out of a obligation to each family to a Hidur that each person lights it? Why leave that layer and go back to the first layer? So that's actually the machloket of Tosfot and Rambam. And it's a source of machloket between the Shulchan Aruch on the one hand and Ramah on the other hand. Let's see, it might depend on the reasons given to the machloket of Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel. Amar Ula and Amora, he made a commentary. Pligi Batrei Amorai b'Marava. There is a machloket between Amoraim in Israel, Marava. Rabbi Yossi bar Avin and Rabbi Yossi bar Zvida, 2 Amoraim. Chadamar once said, Tama de Beit Shammai, the reason of Beit Shammai is Keneged Yamim Hanichnasin, is that I need to note the upcoming days. So in the first day, I will light 8 candles. The Tama de Beit Hillel Keneged Yamim Hayotzin. I need to mark the days that are already on, that are going. So the first day will be only 1 candle. So that's one source of explanation. According to this explanation, you need to know which day are you on, and maybe there's room to say only 1 person will light the candles, or at least that the Chanukiot will be very, very distinct and removed from each other, that there won't be any source of confusion. Chadamar, however, another Israeli Amora explained, the Machloket, the reason of Beit Shammai is corresponding to the bulls of Sukkot, Parei HaChag, and Tama de Beit Hillel, and the reason for Beit Hillel is that Ma'alin Bakodesh Ve'ein Moridim. So that's a total different explanation to the Machloket. With Beit Shammai, there is some comparison to the bulls of Sukkot, and there the number is going downwards. The first day of Sukkot, you bring 13 bulls in the Musaf offering, and then in the second day, 12 bulls, and then in the 7th day, you give 7 bulls. Altogether 70. Yeah, 13 plus 12 plus 11, etc. So 7 is 70. But just as there, the system is going downwards, the Hanukkah candles should also go downwards. Now, it's not that clear what is the comparison. Why are the Musaf bulls of Sukkot, why should they, what's their relevance? Why should that serve as a model for Hanukkah candles? That's a big question. It requires explanation. Now, Beit Hillel are saying another counter argument. Ma'alin b'kodesh ve'in moridin. We usually, when we are doing things of kedusha, we're trying to go upwards and not downwards. Okay, so this explanation, as opposed to the previous explanation, which was pretty technical, what do I need to note? The upcoming days or the days that are gone? So you could. Rav Zevin explains some depth in that explanation too, but that's not the topic of our class. We will try to return at the end of the class, and if I forget, please remind me, to understand this explanation of the machloket. Why Beit Shammai on earth comparing the model of Hanukkah candles to the model of Musaf bulls in Sukkot? Why should there be any source of any reason to compare the two? And how come Beit Hillel answering by saying Ma'alin b'kodesh ve'ein moridin? So that still requires an explanation. I'll just say something very preliminary. And what I'll say here is that the general comparison between Hanukkah and Sukkot has many roots. Hanukkah is usually treated as the rabbinic holiday of the Doraita holiday of Sukkot. First of all, already in the book of Maccabim, there is a comparison between, and a link is made between Hanukkah and Sukkot. Hanukkah is 8 days, and Sukkot is somewhat 8 days. Shmini Atzeret, which is a holiday that is from some aspects a completion of Sukkot, from other aspects it's a totally independent Chag, but it's called Shmini. So it's 8 days and 8 days. Also, Sukkot agriculturally is the holiday of gathering, Asif. And it's known that the time of Asif, of the Zaytim, of the olives, is around Hanukkah time. So it's like the completion of the Asif, the agricultural Asif gathering season. And we know that the oil has to do a lot with the menorah and the zayit. So there are some links between Hanukkah and Sukkot, and here clearly we see Beit Shammai making such a link, but it certainly requires more and further explanation. All right, the end of the source of Shabbos Kafalef 21b. Amar Rabba Bar Chana Amar Rabbi Yochanan. So there's a quote from, again, an Israeli Amora, Rabbi Yochanan. He says the following, he reports the following. Shnei zkenim hayu b'Tzidon. There were two old elderly people in Tzidon, yeah, that's in Lebanon. Echad asa keBeit Shammai. One was practicing like Beit Shammai, and one was practicing, Echad asa kedivrei Beit Hillel. One gave a reason to his Zenoten Tam Lidvarav. One gave a reason to his action, Keneged Parei HaChag, corresponding to the bulls of Sukkot. Zenoten Tam Lidvarav, and one was justifying his action. What was it? Ma'alin b'kodesh ve'in moridin. Apparently, Rabbi Yochanan came here because there was a dispute between Israeli Amoraim as to what was the explanation to the machloket between Beit Hillel and Beit Shammai, and he wanted to bring a support to one direction by bringing this story about the two elderly people in Sidon. Okay. Now, we want to explain further, as I said, the roots of the machlokas of Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel. So in order to provide a deeper explanation to this machloket, meaning do I start with 1 and I go upwards, or do I start with 8 and go downwards? For that, we'll have to digress and go to a total different world regarding a machloket of Hillel and Shammai. So let's go there. 10 pages later, 10 dapim later in the Tractate of Shabbat, we find 3 interesting stories that are appearing in one Tannaic source. 3 interesting stories. Let's analyze them deeply. Tanu Rabbanan, again, it's a Tannaic source. One Tannaic source that brings us was edited into one story, as we'll say, with that actually shares with us 3 stories. These are 3 stories about 3 converts. By the way, I'm just saying, if anyone has a question while I'm teaching, they're more than welcome to ask, okay? At any rate, I'm returning back. There are 3 stories about 3 converts that are coming individually, of course, not together, and asked to be converted. They first asked to be converted from Shammai, and Shammai rejects them, and then Hillel accepts them. I know we're now in an era in the state of Israel where there is a big controversy and dispute about the Reformat Hagiyur. Yeah, there is Reformat HaKashrut and Reformat Hagiyur. Yeah, about what is the right procedure and process here in the state of Israel of conversion, who should have the authority to do that. So it will be interesting, and I won't be political. Each one will make his own connections about the approaches of Shammai and Hillel here regarding these converts. Let's see the first story, and we will label these converts, and we'll try to justify Shammai and advocate for Shammai's approach, and then to advocate for Hillel's approach, and try to understand the logic in each of these approaches that is brought in this, that is illustrated in the stories. So let's see the first stories. The first story. The story goes about a Gentile who came in front of Shammai. Maybe I'll make the letters bigger, and that might help some of the participants here. Yeah. Here is the first story, Shabbat Lamed Aleph Amud Aleph 31a. And here is the first story, Tanu Rabbanan. It's a Tannaic source that reports the story. Maisa benochri echad. The story goes about one Gentile who went in front of Shammai, towards Shammai. He told him, Amarlo, Kama Torot yesh lachem. So the Gentile here first asks him, how many Toros do you have? Yeah, how many Toros do you have? Amar lo shtayim. We actually have 2, told him Shammai. Torah shebechtav v'Torah shebe'al peh. Okay. Amar lo, he told him, the Gentile, shebechtav ani ma'amincha, v'shebe'al peh eini ma'amincha. I believe you regarding the Torah shebechtav, the written Torah. I don't believe you. I don't believe in the authority and the validity of the second Torah you mentioned, the oral Torah. The written I see in my hands, in my eyes, and I believe its validity, that it was given in heaven. Whatever you claim that there is in some oral Torah with information that is having validity and obligates us regarding or obligates you Jews, I don't believe you regarding that. And now here is his request. After Shammai answered him that there are 2 Toros, and the Gentile told him, I believe the written one, I don't believe the oral one, I reject the oral one. Here is his request, the Gentile's request from Shammai. Gaireni almenat shetelamdeni Torah shebechtav. Please convert me so that you will teach me the written Torah, not the oral Torah, because I don't believe in the oral Torah. Wait, let's freeze here. Let's say a Gentile will come today to a conversion court, even after the terrible reform that Matan Kahana, let's say that the Beit Din that Matan Kahana will form, would anyone accept such a Gentile for conversion if he says, look, I'm make a stipulation here. Please convert me, but I have a stipulation that you will teach me only the written Torah. Do you think anyone would accept him today for conversion? I don't hear anyone, so I don't know if my Zoom doesn't work or...
No, it's fine. No, of course we would not accept.
You wouldn't be accepting... You wouldn't be accepting... What, Larry?
The Karaites would accept him.
Yeah, the Karaites would accept him, but we're not talking about Karaites here. And even the most radical, lenient, conversion court will not accept him today. Okay, I don't think that is even a source of dispute. So, okay, at any rate, that seems something very fundamental, not to accept the oral Torah. That's the world of halacha. So that's his request to Shammai. So no wonder why Shammai's response is very extreme. Shammai, it says here, Ga'arbo v'hotzio b'nezifa. He yelled at him, or he rebuked him, and he showed him the way out with a certain rebuke, nezifa. That's Shammai. Shammai told him, get out of here. There is no basis for conversion. I'm not cooperating with this. However, surprisingly enough, Balifnei Hillel Gairei, he went in front of Hillel with the same thing, told him, I don't believe in the oral Torah. Please teach me, convert me and teach me the written Torah. Hillel accepted him. But the story doesn't stop here. So it's a surprise that he accepted him. And then it says here, Yom HaKama, the first day, Amar Le Aleph Bet Gimel Dalet. The first day, he taught him the alphabet. So this is an Aleph, this is a Bet, this is a Gimel. Yeah, that's the first step in teaching him the written Torah, that he will know the alphabet. Lamachar Apichle. The next day, he changed it, meaning whatever he reversed it, whatever he told him. Let's say he showed him the drawing of Aleph. So the first day he indeed told him that that's Aleph, but now he told him that's a Bet, meaning look at this word Balif Hillel. So the first day he indeed taught him that that's Ba, Bet and Aleph. But the next day he said he told him that Bet is the Aleph and that the Aleph is the Bet, meaning that what's written here is really Av. So he totally confused him. He taught them the opposite way of what he taught him the day beforehand. So the Gentile, or the new, more accurate, the new convert, of course, recognized it. So Amarle, he told Hillel, he complains to Hillel, lo amart li hachi. But yesterday, you taught me the opposite way. Amarlo, Hillel responds to him, Lav alei didika samacht. So that shows that yesterday you relied on me. De alpeh, because you're contradicting, you're actually asking me that I'm contradicting what I told you yesterday. So you relied on me, you had trust on me, you counted on me when I taught you the alphabet. So if so, the alpeh nami smochalai. So you need to rely on me also regarding the existence of the oral Torah. All right, so this is the story. I'll make a quick summary of convert number one. We'll call him the oral Torah convert. That's how we'll refer to him from now on. So the oral Torah convert, actually, Hillel tells him, okay, I'm teaching you only the written Torah. In order to do that, he teaches him the alphabet. The next day, he confuses him. The Gentile complains, and he told me yesterday you taught me the opposite way around. And he tells him, just like you relied on me regarding the alphabet, you should rely on me regarding the oral Torah. That's an interesting argument. We'll have to return to it. I'm just putting it here and we'll return to it because I want first to zoom all the three stories. But it's on first hand, this argument might not be that convincing, what Hillel tells him, meaning if I trust you regarding one thing, that doesn't mean that I need to trust you regarding everything in the world. Let's say you'll claim that the moon is really a banana. The fact that I'm trusting you when you were telling me, I'm asking you, what is your street address? And you're telling me I live in Rehov Gidon something, I might trust you regarding this. And then you'll tell me, and also, since you trusted me when I told you, that when you asked me what's my address and I answered you, you trusted me. So now when I claim that the moon is really made out of banana, then you need to rely on me. It's an interesting argument, not that convincing. I'm not saying it's the same thing, but I'm just saying that we need to address it. Second story. Again, there was a story about a convert who came to seek conversion in front of Shammai. This Gentile tells Shammai the following: Amar lo gaireini al manat shetelamdeni kol haTorah kula k'shani omed al regel achad. That's the most famous story. He is requesting for conversion while he's standing only on one leg, which is a pretty weird request. Why on earth a Gentile will come to Shammai and tell him, please convert me while I'm standing on one foot and one leg? The previous convert, by the way, there was logic. He said, I don't believe the oral Torah. I believe only the written Torah, and that's what I want to accept. That's the only thing I want to accept. Fine, this is reasonable. I mean, I understand the logic. What's the point of a person that tells him, please convert me? Please, here, let's repeat his request accurately. It's a known story. Please convert me in the stipulation that you're teaching me all the Torah in its entirety, Kol Torah Kula, while I'm standing on one leg. Can you understand? Please explain me pshat. What's going on in the mind of that Gentile? I know this is a story. Look, I was told this story when I was, I think, 4 years old. I mean, it's such a famous story. The Gentile that asks to convert while he's standing on one, learning, stipulating that he wants to, that Shammai will teach him all the Torah while he's standing on one foot. Beit Shammai is upset with the request, and Shammai is accept, and Hillel is teaching him, as we'll see, Mashasanu alecha al ta'aseh l'chaverecha. Whatever you don't want that will be done to you, don't do to another person. Okay, I made the spoiler. I continue this, but I'm now stopping here and asking, what is in the mind of this Gentile? What is his motivation? What's behind such a request? So weird.
Give me the essence.
What? Again, please, I didn't hear. Please, as someone said something.
Just give me the essence of the religion. The essence of al-regal achat.
Meaning, you say it could sound like a legitimate request, okay? Of a person saying, look, I know that your Torah is full of details. That's what I heard. I see Jews doing a lot of stuff, and I don't want to be lost. Give me the essence of it. And the metaphor of it is while I'm standing on one leg, on one foot, I need to know the principle. Okay. Of course, there could be other interpretations. It could be interpreted as just, a teasing, a chutzpahdik request. Alternatively, we'll see maybe Shammai, that's the way he understood it. I'll just say here, again, we'll return to analyze the story more deeply, but what Jack, right? What Jack said gets some support from Latin, because Some commentaries said, Lamdeni kol Torah kula al regel achat. Why dafka foot? Regula is regula achat. Regula is like the law, the principle. Okay. At any rate, we'll get back to this story, as I said. At any rate, Shammai's reaction is that if you remember, the first fellow, the oral Torah convert, he just shouted at him and showed him the way to the door. Here it's even a step further. Shammai has in his hand a building ruler, some ruler that you measure for builders, and Shammai takes that building ruler and he pushes him out. He's not even talking to him. He's just, this Gentile approaches him with that request, and he's just pushing him out with that building ruler. We'll return to this detail and try to explain the importance. Why is the story telling us that? The story doesn't tell us that Shammai was wearing, let's say, a black sweater, okay, or a black suit. This building ruler, what does it have to do here? At any rate, this Gentile came in front of Hillel with the same request. Please convert me, and my stipulation is that you teach me all the Torah in its entirety while I'm standing on one foot. Hillel accepts it. Then he tells him, okay, what is the Torah kol kula that he teaches him? What you don't want to be done to you, you hate that will be done to you, don't do to your fellow man. This is the Torah in its entirety. The rest is its interpretation. Go out and learn. Meaning, and some support to what Jack said, Hillel doesn't tell him, I taught you really all the Torah. He tells him, I'm giving you here an essence that it's all the Torah in its entirety, but you need to learn the details that are the interpretation of this thing. Okay, we'll return. I'm just again throwing a question, just like I threw questions before about the first story. This convert we'll refer to from now on as the one-leg convert. So we had an oral Torah convert, and we have a one-leg or one-foot convert. I think that we still need to understand, how does Hillel think that this is all the Torah kula? Whatever you don't like, don't do to your fellow man. What's the relationship of machlos asuros, ham, the prohibition to eat ham, shatnez? What does that have to do with mashisanu alecha? Meaning we have huge areas in Torah that are bein adam lamakom, that l'chora have nothing to do with that, all the Torah in its entirety. Okay, so there is a need here for explanation. And the last story, the third one, Shuv Maaseh Benofri. Again, there is a story about one Gentile, that was going behind over Achorei Beis HaMidrash. He was going behind a Beis Midrash. Okay, nice story. Was traveling, had no plans to convert. He was just passing by a Beis Midrash. The Shammai Kol Sofer, he heard one Sofer that maybe was reading only in order to check the writing. Or Sofer here means a learner, or many, but it doesn't matter. He heard a voice of someone that was learning. Shehaya Omer, he was reading aloud from the Torah, and he heard from Shmos, Ve'ela habgadim asher yasu choshen ve'efod. These are the garments that will be done to the Kohen Gadol, the supreme priest, choshen and ephod. Yeah, the two of the special garments, yeah, that are done to the Kohen Gadol. And of course, he heard, what are they made of? They're made of very, very special and nice material, the choshen and the ephod. Very, very valuable, expensive stones, etc. The choshen. Avnei HaChoshen. Amar. So this Gentile passes by, hears that a Kohen Gadol in Judaism wears in front of him, as part of his garments, some garment with very, very precious stones. Amar. So he asks, Halalu lami. These very nice garments that I just heard you reading out loud, that this is the garments that should be made. Halalu lami, who are they done for? Amrulo laKohen Gadol. They answered him, these are done for the Kohen Gadol, the supreme priest. Amar oto nochri betzmo. This Gentile said to himself, Elech ve'etgayer, bishvil she'simuni Kohen Gadol. I will go ahead and convert so that I'll become a supreme priest, the Kohen Gadol, so that I'll get to wear these precious clothes. So that's his plan, to convert. His only motivation, it seems, is to convert in order to become a Kohen Gadol. That's his plan, so that he will get these expensive and wonderful garments. Pretty cute convert. In my eyes, he's the cutest. You'll see soon why I say that. So Baal Lifnei Shammai, so he's a very innocent Gentile. He really has a plan here. He comes in front of Shammai and he tells him, Amarle, I want to convert in order to become a supreme priest. Well, guess what was Shammai's response? He takes the building ruler and pushes him out. Baal Lifnei Hillel, he comes in front of Hillel. Gaire, oh, that's amazing. Hillel actually accepts him to convert. But I'm asking you guys, hello, Hillel knows the truth that this guy cannot become a Kohen Gadol. He still accepts him to conversion. Amar lo, he told him, Hillel, Kluma midin melech ela mishio de'atach sisei malchut. We don't appoint the king if the king doesn't know how to act as a king. What are the rules of a king? Lech lemotach sisei malchut. So you need to learn the sisei malchut, how a king should act. Now, king is a metaphor here, means a Kohen Gadol. You converted in order to become a Kohen Gadol. So you must learn how a Kohen Gadol acts. Now, what is, here I'll just show you in the parallel source in Avot de Rabbi Natan. Hillel tells him, sit down after he converts, and I will tell you one thing. One who wants to serve a regular king, a human king, isn't it appropriate that he will learn how to service that king, if he's the main servant of that king? So the new convert told him, yes, Amar Lohen. So he says, you that you were actually now converted in order to request to be the server of the King of Kings. Lo dinu, isn't it appropriate that you will learn, shetilmod, how you should enter the Holy of Holies, how should you light the candles, how should you approach the altar, how should you set up the table in the Mishkan, in the Mikdash, how should you form the candles? Amar lo hatov beinecha say. Told him, the Gentile, okay, the convert, you're right, I need to learn this. So first he wrote him alphabet, and then he taught him Vayikra. So now I can't resist, in the middle of the story, I'm asking you guys, I'm again repeating the sequence of events. The Gentile comes, he hears that there are beautiful garments for a Kohen Gadol. He approaches Shammai and tells him, I want to convert in order to become a Kohen Gadol. Shammai pushes him out with his building ruler. He comes to Hillel. Hillel is converting him, and Hillel is then telling him, hey, you want to be the main servant of the King of Kings, so you must learn how you enter the Holy of Holies. Go and learn how to enter the Holy of Holies and how to approach the altar. Is there a problem with the way Hillel acts here?
It's false pretenses. It's a
What?
con. I say it's a false pretenses and it's a con. The guy did not have to. How can you convert a guy on the principles that you know are not so? It's a cute story, but
And not only Phil, not only that you convert him when you know that the reason why he came to convert cannot be
yeah, that's what I mean.
materialized.
That's
Not
false.
be realized.
No, but Phil, it's even more extreme. After he already accepts him, Chevre, I'm not politically correct, but we have to be here blunt. He cheats him.
Yeah,
He mamish cheats him. He tells him, okay, all right, now, since you want to become a Kohen Gadol, let's learn what is the work of a Kohen Gadol.
one other
Meaning,
question. In the same-
meaning, even after he converts, he accepted him, he is continuing with him, with
Yeah.
the convert, not informing him.
There's not a
Deceiving.
hope in hell that he will get to any job.
But
Okay.
eventually, as he learns, he will realize that he cannot
Right.
be a Kohen Gadol.
So
he-
first he deceives him, which
Yeah.
is a problem on its own. He is actively deceiving him, not even passively,
Yeah.
actively deceiving him. That's what I'm saying. Because, when he accepted him to conversion, you could have said, he just ignored what he said and just said, okay, I want to convert, I convert you. But the next day, he is actively participating and deceiving him. And Fagi adds, he's taking here a big risk, Hillel.
Yeah.
Because eventually, this convert will find out.
Yeah.
And let's see what he will say then.
Incidentally, at this point, isn't he more like a Ger Toshav?
Well, this guy is not a Ger Toshav, as you'll
I
see.
know, but basically, the first one also, they want limited edition Judaism. So that
Right.
the closest you can come is Ger Toshav.
Yeah, you're right, perhaps, but Hillel didn't go in that route. Hillel,
I find it.
and we'll have to explain that. Okay. Now let's complete the third story. Again, I just raised up a puzzling question about Hillel's actions. So indeed, he told him, go ahead and learn how to serve the King of Kings. So he said, okay, I'll go ahead. So he learns the Torah. He taught them the alphabet. He learns the Torah. Halach v'kara. This convert went ahead and read the Torah till he reached the verse in Bamidbar. Kevan shehigia behazar hakarev yumat. It says there clearly that every stranger that approaches the Holy of Holies, of course, will die. There is a death penalty for anyone who is not entitled, considered a stranger that approaches the Holy of Holies. Amarle. So here, the Gentile, the convert becomes alert, and he asks Hillel, Mikrazel minemar, this verse, who is it referring to? When it says zar, stranger, who is that stranger? Who is in the category of a stranger that is not allowed to approach the holy place? Amarlo, afilu al David melech Israel. This is referring even to King David. Even King David is considered a stranger that will be killed if he approaches the holy. So now the convert digests that, absorbs that, and he says the following. Nasao togir kal v'chomer ba'atzmo. So this Gentile, this convert now is doing the kal v'chomer. Uma Yisrael shenikru banim lamakom. Umitoch ha'ava she'avam kara lahem b'ni bechor Yisrael. Tiva lehem v'azara karev yumat. Ger hagkal sheba b'maklo v'tarmilo alachat kama v'kama. He says, okay, I understand. Even David, the king of Israel, is a stranger regarding the holy. So he says, well, here there's a simple kal v'chomer. If all the people of Israel who are not Kohanim, all the people of Israel, including King David, And they're all called children of God, God children, and even the firstborn of God. Still, the Torah says regarding that they're strangers, that when they approach the holy, they will be killed. So a convert is even more so considered a stranger that cannot approach the holies. So here, he digested the ring, it hit him. The ring, how do you say it? There was, I forgot the term. Okay.
It rang a bell.
It rang the bell rang, exactly. And he digested that he will never, ever be a Kohen Gadol. That's a dramatic point because, as Fegi said, here perhaps we would expect that he will just run to Hillel, tell him, you're a big fat liar, and just throw everything and go back to be a Gentile. Let's remind ourselves, he became a Jew only to get the garments of the Kohen Gadol. So that's what we would expect that will happen in this dramatic point, that he digests that he could never, ever be a Kohen Gadol and will never, ever have these garments. But look at his reaction. So now, instead of running to Hillel and telling him you're a big fat liar, he runs to Shammai back. Amarlo, he tells him, Klum ra'ui ani liot Kohen Gadol, v'aloktiv b'Torah v'azara karav yumat. Well, I understand now. Of course I cannot be a Kohen Gadol. It's written in the Torah that the stranger will be killed. Yeah, I understand that now. Now he runs balifnei Hillel. He runs in front of Hillel and tells him, Amarlo anvetan Hillel. Hillel, you're such a modest person. You're such a moderate and good-tempered person. You heard my nonsense, I'm now interpreting, and you didn't push me out with the builder's ruler, but you patiently caused me to recognize something. And therefore he tells them, Yanuchu lecha brachot al roshcha, blessings should rest on your head, that you made me become, you were makar of me to come under the wings of the divine. Meaning not only that he's not running to Hillel and saying him, you're a big fat liar, he is telling him, thank you so much that with your patience and in your special way, with your methodology, with your temper, actually you caused me to come under the wings of the divine. And this he's saying when he knows that he will never have these garments that started this whole story. The Baraita, the Tannaic source, the editor of the Tannaic source, that let's just review, we have three converts here. The oral Torah convert, the one-leg convert, and the Kohen Gadol convert. Okay, it's three converts. All of them were rejected initially by Shammai, or all of them were accepted by Hillel. The Tannaic source, the editor of the Tannaic source, concludes with the following concluding remark. L'yamim nizdavgu shloshtan lamakom echad. It happened that these three converts came together, because each one of them came separately, but it happened that they met. They came together to one place. They were discussing, they said, Amru, Kapdanuto shel Shammai biksha letordenu min haolam. The strictness of Shammai would have caused us to lose the world, to lose the eternal world. His strictness would have, and his strictness and anger would have caused us to lose the world. And v'tanuto shel Hillel, the modesty and the temper of Hillel, kervanu tachat kanfei hashchina, was makar of us, came us close, caused us to be under the wings of the divine. Tachat kanfei hashchina. That's this concluding remark. Why am I reading it? Because it seems that the editor of that Tannaic source was not neutral. He presented Shammai and Hillel in the story But he didn't just present the stories, and that's it. He added this concluding remark, saying that that Hillel's way, it seems, was right. Because that's the end of the three stories. And now I want to analyze each one of them a little more in depth individually, one by one, each of the three stories, and then see what we can learn from it about the two educational approaches of Shammai and Hillel, that each one of them has a logic and a basis into it. Start with the first convert, the oral Torah convert. I remind you quickly, the guy told that he is willing to convert, but only in the condition that only the written Torah is taught to him, because he doesn't believe in the oral Torah. Shammai yells at him and shows him the way to the door. Hillel converts him. Then he teaches him the alphabet. Then he confuses him the next day, and whatever drawing that he showed him in the Aleph, now etc. The convert complains, and then he tells him, well, you're lied and you had trust on me regarding the alphabet. You should have trust on me regarding the oral Torah. That's the story. So now what I want to ask is the following. First of all, why is Shammai chasing him out? Why is he yelling at him and showing him the door? Why not try to be Makaravim? At the end of the day, he believes in Torah. Maybe there's some basis. There's a starting point.
He doesn't lie to him.
What?
He does not lie to him.
Shammai is sincere. You're saying Shammai. Yeah. And okay. Any other ideas?
Well, I sort of wondered if the other fellow had died before he decided to go along with and understand the Kahuna. If he died, would he be buried as a Jew?
Interesting question, because you say there is a process here, and still Hillel accepted him right away. Okay, it's interesting.
It accepted him to teach him, or accepted?
Yeah, right. Look, the simple wordings of the Gemara is gaire.
Yeah,
Converted him. There are some commentaries perhaps that are saying more to the direction of started teaching him, but no, the pshat is that he actually converted him, which is much more radical. I'll try to justify that too. Again, not halacha l'maisa, but to explain Hillel's logic here. Okay, I think there'll be some answer even to the radical position here. But here, I'm now, that will be when we'll do the integration of everything. I want now to focus on the first story. Shammai, not only that he's sincere with the Gentile, I think it's more than that. I said, perhaps the fact that he believes in the written Torah is already a starting point.
Yeah.
That was my claim. That's what Hillel thinks. Shammai claims, no, there is no starter here. There is no starting point. And why is that? The world of halacha is mostly based on Torah Shebaal Peh, more than Torah Shebechta. But it's much more than that. What is the idea of conversion? A guy that wants to convert, what is he really asking to do? Pshat. And just tell me it in other words. The word conversion means, really, that's not a hard question. If you will write now a dictionary, what does it mean, conversion?
He wants to be Jewish, accept the mitzvot.
You said accept the mitzvot. The first thing was want to be Jewish. Want to join the Jewish people.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely in our days, that's maybe even the first meaning of it many times. But I'm not even thinking of those. Look, we know we have a special, unique formula, we Jews, that the nationality and the religion are intertwined. That's a source of confusion to many people. But tachlis, a very core meaning of conversion is joining the Jewish people. I'm asking to join the Jewish people, to become part of the Jewish people. Now, which of the two Torahs are more resembling the Jewish people. More corresponds to the Jewish people, more symbolizes or stands for, represents the Jewish people. The written Torah or the oral Torah?
Probably the oral Torah, because the written Torah is also is open to the world and part of the Christian New Old Testament.
Right, Larry. And furthermore, the written Torah is God's creation. The oral Torah is Am Yisrael's creation with God in partnership. It's a covenant between us and God, but there is definitely, the oral Torah is based on a serious activity of the sages. In interpretation of the Torah, in applying the rules that were indeed given on Sinai, but they are developing. Rambam, that's how Maimonides holds in his introduction to the Mishnah, that there is a whole category of mitzvos that are not merely decrees, gzeira and takana, but actually innovative halachos that the sages are inventing based on the 13 rules called the Homer Gzeira Shava of interpretation. So the oral Torah is Am Yisrael. Now comes Shammai and says to present a request. I want to join the Jewish people, but I don't accept the oral Torah, is an oxymoron. It's like saying, I want to join the Jewish people and I don't want to join the Jewish people. I don't want to join their tradition. I don't want to join what stands most for what means Am Yisrael, which is the oral Torah. So there is no starting point. It's a prerequisite that cannot be passed by. There is no point in continuing. So we just
Rav Kannai, Rav Kannai, I don't know, I've got no video. The video is not working at the moment. Not because of me, because of the program. Either way, again, we're looking at the Chatzi Kos Hareka, Chatzi Kos Maleh. Here, in both this story and also the story about the one who wants to become a Kohen Gadol, they see something in Judaism.
It's true. Paul.
In both cases.
Okay, Paul, maybe that's Hillel's logic. But I do want to say that Shammai has a very strong logic, because we can speak till tomorrow about Chatzi Kos Reika. Sometimes the Reika is so Reika that even a prerequisite is not met. That's what I want to say. There's some, Shammai will tell us in each story that there is some prerequisite here that cannot be compromised on. Joining the Jewish people and not joining the Jewish people, that is a contradiction to logic, and it can't be passed by. There's no starting point. Furthermore, maybe there's screw-ups, potential risks and screw-ups that will come out of it. Yeah, what is Hillel's response to that? You all understand, partially what Paul says, but Hillel's approach here.
Hillel is a teacher, and he is wanting these people to do self-discovery.
Right.
And through learning with him, they will discover where their errors are.
Right. And that's very accurate, extremely accurate. That's his educational approach and his teaching method. We still have to answer, though, the question that I raised up. He tells them, just like you believed me regarding the alphabet, you need to believe, and you trusted me regarding this, you should believe me also regarding the oral Torah. And I said, what kind of argument is this on earth? What kind of argument is this? After all, believe me, you believe me that, yes, you will respond to him. I believe you that an aleph is an aleph and a bet is a bet. I don't believe you that the oral Torah was sanctified on Sinai or it has validity. What kind of argument is this?
The worst that could happen if you converted him, he'd be a sinful Jew.
But Phil, I'm not there. I'm sorry. I'm asking, I'm not asking what's the worst. I'm just asking here, the final argument of Hillel to that convert was, just like you trusted me regarding the alphabet, you should trust me regarding the oral Torah.
That's a
And I'm asking, what kind of argument is this? The Gentile, that the convert could answer him, I believe you regarding this. I believe you regarding this.
and if I'm a sinner, I'll take the blame.
No, it's still a matter of the learning process. Hillel can throw that out. And it stands and waits, just like you were throwing out questions. You said we'll discuss them later. And as the person would learn, he would realize where the truth lies.
But I don't agree with my wife's analogy, because he could be compared to a student who signs up to become a doctor and learns, and he says, I can't handle this. If these people are being converted, firstly, as opposed to other alternatives. And in modern times, and this is what's motivating my position, is that the worst that can happen, the Russians are sinners, but they're Jewish. But they're prepared to. Because today, to be Jewish means you had a Jewish mother.
Okay.
Or had good rabbinic support.
All right, I will maybe, I understand both positions. I want to, since I want to go on to the next two converts. I see the time also. I'll just tell you, I think there is a very pshat thing here, and it was part of what you guys said, but I'll just make it out loud. I made here a little trick. I think that it's not true to compare it. You believe me, what's my address? So believe me also that the banana is made out of, that the moon is made out of banana. No, it's a very relevant argument of Hillel. Hillel is really telling him, look, in order to, you are a believer in a written Torah, that's your overt, that's what you declare, that you believe in a written Torah. Well, how can you understand the written Torah? You could understand and figure out what's written in the written Torah only by learning the alphabet. How do you learn the alphabet? Only with a teacher. The text itself doesn't entail how to figure out what's written there. You need a teacher, oral, some tradition that will explain you even how to read the text. So the minute you say that you believe in a written Torah, you are already a believer, even though you don't recognize that. But now as Fagi said, you went through some experience that I led, that now you chap that there is no written Torah together with accompanied, every written Torah should be accompanied with some oral Torah. Mm-hmm. Because there can't be at all a written Torah without any tradition accompanying it, even for the most basic action of how to read that text. Okay? So that's already a big step further. He says, okay, you declared that you don't believe in an oral Torah. Here I show you that the minute that you really believe in a written Torah, you are really also a believer of some oral Torah. Okay? So that's a strong argument. And again, as Fagi said, he's a teacher. He's not just giving him a lecture like I give here. He lets him figure it out on his own. The next story, and why does he convert him, Phil? And we'll see it even stronger in the next stories, because he already sees the seed. Meaning he says, okay, he's mamish, a true believer in a written Torah. So it has to be that he is a believer also in some oral Torah, okay? And not, as he says now, overtly. I see more deep inside. Now, the next story is the standing on one leg story. Here, as it was said, Shammai, again, I'll explain Shammai. Shammai pushes him out with a building ruler. Yeah, he pushes him out with a building ruler. So I asked, why are the sages telling us that it's a building ruler? Why is that detail so important? They didn't tell us that Shammai was wearing a black suit. What do I need to know that detail of a building's ruler? I think it's a key here. Because Shammai says, again, there is a prerequisite here, a precondition for conversion that is totally not met, and could not be bypassed. If someone thinks that Torah is an instant, like a commercial, that he chap the Torah in a moment, that he has no patience and no willingness for long process, for thorough learning, because the Torah has a lot of details. The Torah has a lot of shiurim, building ruler, measurement. The Torah is built out of measurements and shiurim and midos. This is a non-starter. Furthermore, only trouble perhaps could arrive if I'll convert a guy that doesn't have this precondition of understanding, of patience, of things that that are not instant. That's Shammai. So he pushes him away with the building's ruler. Hillel says, you know what? As Jack said, you know what? I'm going with him, just like with the first convert. Okay, he's a believer in a written Torah. Okay, we can build on that and go from there. All right, this guy wants to know the essence. He says, I don't want to get lost with all the details. I want to understand the principle. I'll give him the principle and I'll stress to him. The rest is its interpretation. Go out and learn. Hillel tells him it's not the end of the story, but yes, you wanted something that you won't get lost. This is the core. Whatever you hate that will be done to you, don't do to your friend. Now I ask, how does that cover all the Bein Adam Lamakom? Rashi on the spot actually answers it in a fantastic answer. He says that actually a friend of the other, the friend that you owe, that you don't want to hurt, is God. Meaning the Ahavta l'recha kamocha is not only a human reyacha, it's also God. It's a very Rabbi Yehuda Halevi approach, if you think, as opposed to Maimonides. Mm-hmm. The relationship between us and God was established when he redeemed us from Egypt, not when he created the world. Meaning he approached us and formed a relationship. We have a relationship with God. By the way, all the Bible is full of it, like husband and wife. So you don't want to do something wrong in the eyes of your friend, i.e. God. And if it's important for him that you will keep shatnez, because you don't want to hurt him, because you don't want him to hurt you. Of course, that could be a topic of an entire class, but I'm just showed here how Hillel really in one rule tells them all the Bein Adam Lamakom and all the Bein Adam Lechavero and how they're intertwined even. Okay, the third convert, in my humble eyes, he's the cutest one. Because he starts as a childish Gentile and ends up as a really a big person. Now, this Cohen Gadol convert, here we ask the story. First, I'll ask you, I know we're running out of time, but I'll ask, if you were a rabbi and you're sitting in your office in Chicago, and you're sitting in your office in Chicago, and a Gentile comes into your office and says, look, I just heard in the Beis Midrash that there is a person that gets, there's a Kohen Gadol that gets very precious garments. Please convert me that I'll become the Kohen Gadol that will get this garments. How would you respond to that Gentile? Forget about what Shammai and Hillel did. How would you respond?
You give him a price. If he's willing to pay the price, you convert him. Don't you know the old joke?
Yeah, I understand, Larry, but here, because we're running out of time, I'll just say, I think the most simple answer. As a rabbi, I would tell him, hey, my dear friend, I need to inform you that if you convert, you will never become a Kohen Gadol.
Yeah.
Now, if you're still interested, be my guest. If what I answered you causes you not to be interested anymore, that's absolutely fine too. Keep the 7 Noahide commandments and you're a great man. I think that's the most reasonable answer that a rabbi would have given. What's interesting is that neither Shammai nor Hillel walk in that approach. Shammai kicks him out with the builder's ruler, and Hillel converts him. So neither one of them takes the approach that I just mentioned as the most reasonable approach. Now Shammai, what's his justification? I think Shammai goes in the same direction that he went in the previous 2 stories. There's some prerequisites that if they're not met, it's even dangerous to continue the process. When I see someone with such a childish and low and materialistic motivation, and that's the starting point. So conversion, to build a building on this, it's a non-starter. Only trouble can come. That's Shammai. Hillel, again, as Fagi said, the teacher, he walks with the person with his strengths. But we need still to understand that. Because as we said, Hillel, apparently it seems at first glance that he takes a big wild risk here. He's actively deceiving in the process. So why is he doing that? And how does he have the confidence on earth to do that? And the answer is, it seems to me, that again, Hillel is digging more deep to the neshama of the person. Hillel is saying, this guy came to my office, this guy. Now, this guy that came to my office, there are millions of Gentiles who like nice garments. But this guy came inside. So probably now he's in a level that overtly, consciously, and there's awareness, it seems like a very superficial motivation. But Tachlis, once he's going to be involved in learning, I'm sure he's going to still stay with us and even appreciate it, which exactly what happened. So now I want to conclude. And before conclusion, I just want to share with you, I know I have 1 more minute. You know what? I'll first say the conclusion, and then I'll say something extra in 2 minutes at anyone, which I think is a great thing. And people that will miss it. But I'll say just, what's the relationship to Hanukkah? Yeah. The Sfat Emet says it down here in the source sheet. We won't read it because of the lack of time, and Rav Zevin says the same in the next, I'm sorry, I shared the wrong page. Okay, so in the page here that I gave, so there is a Sfat Emet here, down, and in the next page, Rav Zevin, and they're both saying the same thing. What they're saying is the following. There is a question, how do I fix myself and how do I fight the evil? Do I burn the evil? And then, of course, when I burn the evil, there is less and less evilness in the world. So the candle, the Hanukkah candle, includes in it both fire and light. That's the title of the class, fire or light, or. Beit Shammai focus on the fire aspect of the candle. I start with 8 candles because there's a lot of evilness. Then I go down. There's less evilness in the next day, so only 7. I first tackle the evilness before I can be ready to have the good. Sur Merah, only leader Aseh Tov. That's Beit Shammai. That's the order. That's the logic order. First, you fix things, you extinguish the evilness, and then you could do good. So that's why you're going from 8 till the end, because every day there is less evilness because evilness was burned. That's the comparison to the bulls of Sukkot. The bulls of Sukkot represent the Gentiles or the evilness of Gentiles, and it's going down and down. Now, Beit Hillel say ma'alin b'kodesh ve'ein moridin. With kodesh, with kedusha, you go upwards. Beit Hillel, as we have seen with the convert and Hillel's approach, I light a little candle. There's a little neshama there. There is some light there. As Paul said, there is the part that is full in the glass. There is a light in there, in that neshama. Ner Hashem nishmat adam. It says in Tehillim. The candle of Hashem is the neshama of a human being. So once they start learning Torah, then it comes greater and greater and greater, and it fixes itself. By adding more and more light, evilness just, as a byproduct, disappears. Meaning I could burn the evilness directly, that's Beit Shammai. Or on the contrary, I could just add more and more and more good, because by doing a little good, then there is more good and more good and more good. And the learning of the Torah lights the soul, what's there inside, and then the evilness just evaporates, just disappears. So that's two educational approaches, yeah? And there's a need for both. It depends on which context. But as we have seen, the Tannaic source that we learned heavily was biased and decided that, these three converts could have been lost. And because there was a belief in them, and because there was this approach of adding more and more light, each day adding one more candle, that approach actually worked. Yeah, so that's the adding good that sometimes Rav Kook said, the purest tzaddikim not always protest against the evilness, but they rather add good in this world. And by adding more and more and more good, the world is becoming better and the evilness just evaporates. The Kotzker Rebbe said, I want my Hasidim, the Kotzker Rebbe said, not to fight the Averos, but rather that they will just not have time to do Averos. Each one will take his positive force and they will be so busy all day with doing good things, mitzvot. That's where their awareness will be. That's where the neshama will be. So they'll just not have time to do Averos. Sometimes when you're starting to weak points, you're so busy in the war that you never get to use your forces, strength, and just doing the good. So that was the shir. I'll add one little cute point. The two converts in my eyes, the three converts in my eyes correspond to the three things that the world are built on: Torah, Avoda, and Gmilus Chasadim. The first convert is the Torah convert, oral Torah, written Torah. The second convert is the Gmilut Chasadim convert, Mashesanu Alecha, Al Ta'aseh Lechaverecha. The third convert, the Kohen Gadol convert, is Avoda for two reasons. A, the topic is Kohen Gadol. But B, more important in the deep sense, he is, out of these three, he is the one that in the most elaborated form, we see the change, the Avoda HaPnimit, the change of trait, how his external motivation becomes an internal motivation, how his material motivation becomes a lishma, a true motivation, meaning there is a change, a process of change, which is really the essence of avoda shebalev, yeah? Torah is cognitive intelligence, avoda is emotional intelligence, and gmilut chasadim is social intelligence. The three stories here correspond to these three things. Perhaps that's why it's brought in a context of giur, which is really a building of a new thing. Okay, Chavre, so I wish you all Chanukah Sameach.
יישר כוח.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Chanukah Sameach.